It's your best friend. All right.
Hello,
Okay.
it's me. It's your best friend.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hello. What's up? Hey guys, welcome. It's your boy JJ again. Welcome. Here with Crushing the Meta. It is very cool to be interviewing a lot of these awesome content creators, and we have one more special guest. We have a couple more still coming down the pipeline. Hopefully, you guys are going to be very excited about that. Hopefully, you guys also taking part in the giveaway as well. And today we are joined with.
Hello, it's me. It's your best friend. Hello, it's me. It's your best friend. It's CanYouSayG, and you're tuning into G Station, where we learn how to be a better card fighter.
Hey, nice. That's pretty cool. So, first things first, what actually got you into wanting to make visual content? Because you've been a blogger before. You've done blogging for, half a decade now, close to half a decade. What got you into
Actually,
wanting
no, I've been blogging
way
for
longer?
card games for a lot longer than that, and not necessarily in English. Back more than 10 years ago, back in 2000 and no, no, yeah, 2000 and like 6 and 7, I was blogging in Japanese. Then 2008, I tried to go bilingual to practice my English because I was really looking to learn English to get into university at that time. So I was learning English in my job, and then I was like, hey, I just might as well just translate everything and try to learn English that way. And then 2008 and 9, I was doing 2009, 8, 9, 10, I was doing a lot of blogging in English and Japanese bilingual for Yu-Gi-Oh at that time.
Ah,
And
okay.
then after that, I moved to English blogging and Japanese blogging for Vanguard back in when I first started Vanguard.
Okay, because like the earliest thing that I could currently find for any of your bloggings, is from Haneta or Hatena. Sorry if I'm
Oh
mispronouncing it.
yeah, I changed my platform quite a lot
Hmm.
during the time. I used a few different names, yeah, online names, quite different handle names over the years as well.
Ah, okay. Any of them really were your favorite outside of the one that you're currently using? Any ones you were kind of like fond of?
Uh, no, I use Brazas quite a lot. It's that one is sort of around. A few of the Yu-Gi-Oh people used to know me
Mm-hmm.
by that name, but I don't know, done a lot of stupid things back then with Yu-Gi-Oh. I made a lot of like fan decks and very fun decks to play. That was very enjoyable. But I kind of moved to this name, and then I tried because it was funny, and then I kind of stuck with it because after that I was sort of had a brand and was doing a lot of information trade and information sharing on Twitter for the Japanese side of the world. So I just kind of stuck with it, and now I'm ended up stuck with it. So it's a bit too late to change.
All right. But what got you into Vanguard actually? What made you take that step?
So I started Vanguard in back in when is it? I can look it up. So for Vanguard, I started in set number 2. So Ryukon number. Ryukon number is the Japanese set. So I remember starting with the Nova Grappler start deck, the Nova Grappler trial deck. So in
Cool, very
Japanese,
cool.
that came out when? It's trial deck number 3, 2011 July. So I started in July of 2011, which is 4 months after Vanguard came out. So I was at set number 2.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's when I started at Vanguard, and yeah, and then after that I decided to get really big into Vanguard.
Okay. And any of your favorite clans that you're currently been enjoying? Because right now you've been advocating Neo Nectars, but what clans also really piqued your interest when playing?
Um, Playstyle wise, I like beat down aggro decks, and this is not just in Vanguard. It's just sort of my personality in my mindset. If I'm trying to be the aggressor, trying to control the game by being the initiator.
Hmm.
So for any of the other games I play, I tend to play beatdown slash aggro decks. So a lot of the decks that I like are just beatdown slash aggro type decks, and the decks I look to see the beatdown slash aggro in it. So I have Royal Paladin. I played Royal Paladin quite a lot due to its deploy nature and its power pump nature. I have Kagero. I have Kagero Blade Master somewhere. Is it here? Oh yeah, it's here. I have Kagero Blade Master, and in premium it's a Overlord the Cross and Overlord the End.
Hey,
Yeah.
nice.
So I played Mostly I played aggro beatdown, but last year during BCS season, I played very heavy control in Blade Master.
Mm-hmm.
I got something like 2 or 3 BCS tops in standard.
Nice. Like, what was your competitive history, actually? What was that like for you in a competitive environment?
Competitive Vanguard. I've moved around a lot during my past couple years, so it's been all over the world. So I played in played back in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
I topped something in the WGP in when I was living in Malaysia for university.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished university there, and then I got into med school, and then it was in Ireland, which didn't have any official events. So we had like our unofficial nationals. So I won nationals once. I got top second place or third place once.
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't join one of the years. Yeah. And then after that, I finished med school. I moved back to Japan in 2005.
Jay,
And 2016, I topped WGP Tokyo.
Okay.
2017, I wasn't in Japan for competitive season. I was overseas. Top 8'd BCS. Yeah, top 8'd BCS. Fourth place. Top 4 BCS with Blasters. That was 2017. 18. Top 8'd twice in Team League. Yeah, standard and premium top 8. And the solo, I think I had to skip for work. And 2018, I didn't do it. 2019, Nationals, Team League, top 8 to both, I believe. Top 8 to one. No, one. I didn't join the other one because I didn't have a. I think I can't remember. I don't really track most of my wins. It's like WGP here and there. I was playing, because in some of the areas I live, you have both WGP and English.
Mm-hmm.
So 2019, I was playing, I think, mostly a mix of both. So I wasn't joining all the events, and I had work. Then 2019 fall, I top 8'd 4 times. So I won 1, and then top 8, something like that. Right? Top 4, top 8. Win top 4, top 8, something like that. Yeah. And then 2020 happened, and that's we all know the story of that.
Yep, BCSs and WGPs are a little bit of a little bit of a idea or thought in our minds right now. I mean, it's starting to start up a little bit on a smaller scale. You still got a local tournaments. And
it is starting
events.
up. Japan has WGPs going on in segregated areas and segregated forms. I am quite against their regulation because, as a medical professional, it's like looking at a disaster waiting to happen for both cheating and for COVID.
Yep.
For Malaysia, we have WGP started up already, or starting up. I believe the next first qualifiers are next week. I have heard, I do know Thailand has not WGP, has VMC. Thailand has VMC running. What else is there? Yeah, Thailand has VMC running. So far, none of the other countries have announced anything, but Korea is tried to start something with the Korea Master Cup again, but it kind of got shut down. I haven't heard any of the news, even though it's supposed to have started already.
Okay, so right now the audio is a little bit out of sync with the
that
video.
That is a competitive scene so far. Later.
All right. Sadly enough, the audio is a little bit out of sync with the video. So hopefully the viewers at home will take mercy upon us. That's usually what happens sometimes with these calls. Of course, nothing is too stable every time. But you said you did a whole lot of just event playing for Vanguard in general. What was one of the most memorable moments you ever had with any events you've ever taken part in?
Memorable events I've ever taken part in.
Yeah.
I topped WGP Tokyo 2016 with Sing Saver. So that was very memorable. Because the meta then was 7 runner versus time leap. Yeah, 7 runner versus time leap, and I was playing Sing Saver. What else? I top 8'd one of the Kanto VGCS with Altmal. with like the Tinmei Outmao, the second version of Grade 3 Outmao. That was memorable because my teammates thought I was going to play Sanctuary Guard / Sing Saver that day. What else, huh? What else was memorable? I fight Ryan Kai in the top cut quite a lot because once since I moved to Southeast Asia, I've been playing a lot and we're making it to top cut a lot. So I fought him in 2017, 2019, 2019. I fought him like 4 times this last season, in top cut. So I had to kill him in premium in Vietnam, killed him in standard in Vietnam, killed by him in Singapore. I killed him in Swiss in Singapore and then died to him in top 8. That was fun.
All right.
Hold on a second, huh? I have to. Give me a moment.
Okay, sure. So, unfortunately, Ryan Kai is Judai. Fair enough. Yeah, it is freezing. The connection's a bit wonky a little bit, but be patient with us at home. Sometimes things like this can happen. Hopefully in the future we can get a bit more of a stable connection. And what he means to say when he says kill Ryan Guy, it means to say like, you know, when he beat him in Swiss or beat him in tournaments and stuff like that, or when you just lose to them. He's the Flash. So he'll be back, he said. He just used instant transmission? Yeah. Change up from Discord to Zoom, he does not have Zoom. I did ask him before, he didn't have Zoom. So, can't really make him use a program that he doesn't have now, does he? I also would have asked him to do so already. It's just regions, it happens. I think, unfortunately, it I don't think Discord supports SEA all too well. Maybe if I change servers, maybe it could work, but we'll see. I don't know if changing the server would help. I doubt it.
All right, sorry I had to drop out for a minute.
Yeah, no worries. No, take your time, take your time. So, no, talking about like dropping at events or playing against professional players. Like, has there been any professional players that you felt like, oh Jesus Christ, they're kind of scary to play against at any given point in time, since you've been playing more or less all over the world for almost close to a decade that you've been playing this game, if not a little bit more, of course, since you started in JP first. Have there been any players you're like, Jesus, they're frightful to play against?
Do I feel the anxiety whenever you play in a big event? Yes, but I also think, in part of my philosophy and my experience in playing card games, that if you're going to be afraid of beating somebody, it means you're going to lose sight of how to beat somebody. So you can't be afraid of anybody, no matter how good they are. So even when I was playing Magic, I was like, okay, even if that's players like so-called like top nationals, like how many times, it doesn't matter.
Fair.
And sometimes I remember I was going in with like 2 or 3 national tops, and then my team was facing off against another team that won nationals.
Yeah.
And they were all like, they froze and they couldn't play anything. And I completely floored my match. And they were like, how can you think? I'm like, because it doesn't matter.
Fair.
It doesn't matter how good the player is. It only matters how good you are versus how they are. It doesn't matter their reputation or their wins. They're just another person you just have to fight. You have to do it, or you win, or you do it and you're afraid and you lose. It's 2 options.
Okay.
Or you're just not afraid and then you lose.
So, last time we had on Maxime, we were discussing the topic of what makes a player good, or what makes it that a player could be deemed a good player. Is it the quality of their wins and tops and qualifications, or is their game theory? What's your take on it?
I have very heavy emphasis on game theory. So I believe that it's important to use good game theory and understand the game very well in order to achieve your win. What makes the player a so-called good player, I think, is much more than just your wins, because you have players that have been to like Worlds 2 or 3 times, but people don't perceive them as good players. It's also about how you present your information, how people perceive you. Are you known for being good? Because there are some players who have, like I said, been to Worlds 2 or 3 times, who have won nationals or top nationals 2 or 3 times, but people don't know about them. So it's being perceived as a good player, being just versus being being good is also very different. So being good is more important than being perceived as being good, but being perceived as being good, it requires a lot more than being just good.
Okay. Sort of, they kind of go hand in hand, but also can be two opposites as well. Fair. All right, that's an interesting.
When
Hmm?
how much plot armor do I have? I have very little plot armor. I have very, 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 very little plot armor. My trigger rating is extremely low.
All right. Also for the people at home, right now,
My entire game plan is I won't open a trigger here. My opponent will open trigger here. How do I work around it? So that's my entire game plan all the time.
Do you always have that type of mindset of always like planning ahead, even if you're like worst case scenario planning, or are you like, if it happens, it happens, sort of thing?
I think, am I planning ahead for worst case scenario, or it happens, it happens? That depends on the situation. If I'm winning, I will go with I'll go for a plan for a worst case scenario. If I'm losing, I will definitely go for the high risk scenario, high risk play. So I've written an article about how to play a bad hand before. But that one is like you have to gamble on everything, and so you would just go high on the gamble. But if you're having a good hand in a safe situation, you would play the very opposite of that and play a very, very safe situation and play to reduce risk as much as you can.
Okay. Now talking
So
about...
there is a lot of...
No, go ahead. There's a lot of...
Oh, so yeah. So when you thinking about like a bad situation or when what happens, you can actually predict what can happen. If you can portray the outcome. So if you know they have 3 drive checks, you have already outcome of 0-0, no trigger, no trigger, no trigger, no trigger, trigger, no trigger, no trigger, trigger, and trigger, no trigger, no trigger, trigger, no trigger. You have like 9 different, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got quite a few potential outcomes. It's a very limited number of potential outcomes, so you just foresee all of them, and so you can play around all of them or already predict all of them. So there's not much like if a bad situation happens. You don't just throw it to the wind. You can already predict all the possible outcomes in a situation like that.
Okay.
Even though most of them are bad for you.
So are you also an advocate of hypergeometric calculations, or is that not also in your fact, or is that not something you'd believe in? Because Magic or a lot of other card games use that as a way to be able to calculate the outcomes of being able to draw into certain cards, be able to get into certain combo pieces. Do you think it could be also applied in Vanguard at any point?
Yes, it can potentially be applied in Vanguard, but your practical aspects of the game are far more important than people give it credit for. Like your power line construction, how your tempo generation, your advantage in hand versus on board, your usage of perfect guards. All of these are far more important in the game of Vanguard because there's a lot more moving parts compared to other card games. So yes, you can calculate your probability of everything, but if you don't know how to use them, it doesn't matter for anything. So how you use what you have is far more important than how likely am I like to get what I will have. And by having a lot of moving parts, you can already plan ahead. If I need this part by turn 4, I have how many turns, how many drive checks, how many draw cards to be able to get that card. So because Vanguard has a lot more moving parts because it has like drive checks every turn, it's a lot more dynamic, I would say, than a lot of other card games. How important the calculation it is technically important. Yes, you can apply it, but how applicable it is slightly less compared to other games.
Okay, because variants can always change those calculations up on the fly. Okay, fair. I get that. But you were talking a little bit earlier about writing articles, and what has been some of the most favorite works some of your most favorite pieces that you've written? One things that you're proud of. Yeah, that you're proud of.
About community, I guess. I wrote one about toxicity in our community, and then literally 2 days later, there was a lot of people that stole cards and tore the certificates at events. That was great. That was very ironic. Ironically, some of the people who were the ones who were like, "Oh man, we should get rid of toxic people in community. This guy's completely correct," were the ones supporting the person who tore the cert. So that was really, 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 really ironic. I've written an article in the past about deaf players that I've seen. I've actually not, back then I wasn't brave enough to interact with them. For me, in my experience in card gaming, I find communication to be very, very important. And as card games is a form of communication. So when I wrote that article, I thought that was it meant a lot for me and my experience with that secret. I have plenty of other experiences I want to talk about in future videos somewhere.
Okay. So you guys are in for a treat.
But those two are some of my favorite articles that I've written.
Okay. People that you've interviewed that have you enjoyed writing blogs about. Some of your favorite interviews you've done.
Some of the favorite people I have interviewed in the past. Nuno Raimondo was very good to interview. Simon Zheng from both world champions this year were very, very good to interview. Nice. Who else was interesting to interview? I remember interviewing like a guy who was very active in community and like hosting VGCSs, etc. in Indonesia to hear about the Indonesian scene. So I thought that was very, very interesting to hear. What else? I guess those are some of the more interesting ones I've done. Of course, DifferentFight had his interview, and we had to translate that, and the reception was interesting. Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
But in terms of like talking about, I guess like about DifferentFight, one of the most impactful people in the Vanguard community currently, and since he's more or less the pioneering person for the Western market, in terms of JP and SEA and stuff like that, I guess you've played against some players from the Western scene, correct?
Yes, I have. Either in Europe when I was living there, or afterwards when in like international events or at Worlds.
Could you like explain to me like some of the dynamic changes or the differences that you've seen in like events and stuff like that, in comparison to both?
Oh, in terms of events or in terms of players?
Players, events, I mean the whole shebang, everything.
I see. For events in the West tend to be more fair. The prizes tend to be better. The English version prizes actually are better, in my opinion, than the Japanese version. Participation, it's more easier to join an English version event than it is for Japanese version event, especially in Japan. Compared to Japan to like some of the other Western countries, it's a lot easier to join the main event because it's the only one there. In Japan, we have a lot of side events that a lot of people are more interested in, like the clan leader fight, like, the 8 people pods, the small stuff that isn't the competitive scene that, most of the Western audience doesn't care about. But like for people like me, I've been very engaged in that kind of community before, then of course I care. So it's a lot easier to join for people for that. In Japan, since the divide of premium and standard, one of the highlights a lot of people don't know is that they're both held on the same day at the same time. And your options are you join either standard or premium, period. You either join standard as a trio or join premium as a solo. So it's a very poor format. And on top of that, it's harder to top in the Japanese format in Japan than it is to top in the Japanese format, the English format worldwide. It's even harder to top a Japanese version event in the Southeast Asia region because the Southeast Asia region runs their WGPs as Swiss rounds until there's a clear top 8. And by a clear top 8, we mean 8-0 people, like 8 people went 8-0 or 9-0, 8 people went 9-0. So basically you have to fight like 9 or 10 rounds, potentially 9 or 10 rounds. I think the smallest I've seen is like 7. And go 7-0, no buys, nothing, go straight 7-0. And that's your way to make top cut. And then you make it to like top 32.
Wow, okay.
So I find the Asian regions WGP people who regularly top are more respectable. That win is more respectable in my opinion because I have the experience in all these other formats than the win top in a English format versus a top in the Japanese format. Because in the top Japanese format in Japan, you have things like the clan rules, clan diversity, and it's only like 3 rounds or sometimes 4 rounds. And if you're going to go in and you're fighting 4 rounds against randoms, it's pretty easy to go 4-0. The difficulty comes when you start fighting people who are 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, and etc. And also, if you mess up due to like grade bricking or just grade lock, you don't instantly lose the tournament and have to drop out. For instance, in WGP Malaysia, I remember I was like 6-0 and then I bricked. I had only one chance to win, which is triple drive, open a single critical. I didn't open a single critical. The opponent had to open a stand. He opened exactly a stand. So I'm like, okay, I lose. Now I have to drop out of the tournament. and then there was 6-1 going into round 7 of 8 rounds, and you had to drop because there's zero chance of you making the top. So it's a bit different than that, because the first couple rounds when you're fighting against everybody in an open tournament, it's fairly easy to get through that and make it to top cut. In my opinion, it's much easier than a lot of the other formats. But the English format being more forgiving of that 1 loss or 2 losses, I think is a good thing. But it's not necessarily the best tournament format, but it is not a bad tournament format, especially compared to if you went X0, you must play a less popular clan to top cut.
All right. And then what about the players? What about the players in comparison from West and...
Okay. People are going to be very, very mad about this. In my opinion, I really think Southeast Asia is better than Japan, which is better than Korea, which is... Thailand is quite high up there. The Eastern Sea region, so China, Shanghai, etc., have the same group of players, and it's the average level is low, but the top level is extremely high, extremely high. So you're talking about guys who are like regularly like 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, and like people who are like Asia champion and then WGP winning and top all this stuff, and like win entire nationals off of with Garmor. I think the American players are definitely lower level than compared to the Japanese players. So that's a very, very controversial opinion. I don't like to voice it very often, because I also believe that every single person and every single different mindset brings with it a different approach, which potentially opens new doors to your own strategy. So thinking another person and another field of play or another group of players is bad equals you thinking their plays are bad equals you closing your own mindset to those plays, limiting your own cap of being a player.
Okay.
So if you decide like, oh, they're shit, so I'm not going to look at their play, that's a worse outcome for you than it is for you to just like, I don't think these guys are that great, but I like this play. I like that. Hey, they're playing this weird thing. Why do they play this weird thing? So that's the difference between you understanding like these weird tech cards and incorporating that into your own strategy, which is how really advanced strategies and more powerful strategies come to being, as opposed to relying on thinking, oh, I'm the best. Only this group of players matter. The rest of their opinions are shit. So that's a really bad mindset to have, I think. And I think, especially in like premium, if you start having that mindset, you can really see very evidently how good the decks are. You compare like some of the winning deck lists in Japan to what WCC has, which is worldwide. Compare that to some of the winning deck lists in like even in the so-called smaller countries like Vietnam, Thailand. It's a very visible gap in the ability of deck building and understanding of the format. It's because certain countries don't look to other mindsets for potential for themselves.
Whew, all right, that's interesting take. But now talking about premium and standard.
Europe's not on the map. Yeah, I used to play in Europe. I think Europe is just around the same level as in most of Americas. Unfortunately for Europe, the top players are really good. And it's easier for the top players to shine in Europe because the average level is a bit lower. But I also believe in my... this is answering a question from chat. Yeah, in my philosophy in card game, I think Europe is one of the best environments to play in because of this factor. If you are not a top player, or if you are a top player and you like to enjoy with multiple people, you need this kind of format where it's welcoming. You're okay to start. It's okay for you to grow. And it's okay for you to enjoy at multiple levels. That is far more important, I think, in my philosophy, than so-called being the best country in the world in Vanguard. It's just a game.
True. Oh, but talking about standard and premium, in both formats, currently in SDA or in JP right now, which formats do you think is being mostly represented at the moment?
Most representative?
Most represented at the moment. Which is being played most?
Or most played?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly standard. Premium is mostly dead in Japan. In various parts of the Eastern world, premium is dying or in very bad shape. This is due to a wide variety of factors, all kind of compounding on each other. And also, a large variety of factors. Loss of motivation, the bad card design, this perceived imbalance, people not really liking the G format. I know a lot of like Western players, like American players, really really love the G format. They're like, oh, premium's the best. But when it comes to playing, sometimes you want to prove that you're the best, and to prove you're the best, you have to play it in a format where a lot of people are playing. And standard does a lot of things better in terms of accessibility, etc. And that has led to much more representation in standard than compared to premium. I see a lot of players in premium in the areas like Malaysia, in a lot of the other countries. They join for the participation price, but they join standard for the competitive price. Or what they do is they play English and Japanese version in the countries that have both, and they play English standard one day and they play Japanese standard the other day because they just don't want to play premium. So that's more than people who are playing premium, which is very, very few. I believe in Malaysia, we had 2 people in the entire WGP/BCS that played premium Japanese and premium English, myself being one of them. 2 people out of the like 150 players for premium.
My soul. All right. But I did see from
premium, I know is like more, but like, and in the reality of it is that Bushiroad is supporting standard a lot more.
Yes.
And especially in the more standard-oriented countries such as Japan. Yeah, there's other countries that just don't have premium, such as the Malay version that's coming out later of Vanguard, as well as the Korean version. They just outright don't have premium. So it's also a factor of that. So you see more people playing standard because it's also the format that's much easier to get into, which I think has to give it some credit.
Okay, fair enough. So now talking about the play area, you're currently, the diversity between, of course, premium and standard. You've voiced your opinion on standard multiple times on a lot of your videos and your YouTube channel, that you're more advocate of standard at the moment, that you enjoy standard a little bit more. A little bit more.
A bit more.
Tiny bit more, not much.
I actually find it's like both the same game. I like standard more so than the gameplay. Is more that it's accessible, it's easier to learn, it's less hoops to jump to, it's easier to build your deck, it's easier to build a variety decks. And that's why I advocate standard more for the newer players, for the community more, because it has the factors outside of gameplay that matter a lot more for the community, matter a lot more for newer players than premium does, which is why I tend to advocate standard much more. But that being said, I did like to play premium a lot more. I thought premium is the superior format in terms of a hardcore engaged card gamer. They would enjoy premium more, yes, but when you're looking to enjoy with a variety of people, run events, etc., you need to play standard because it's more easier to enter format.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That makes sense. Now, let's talk a little bit more about your channel. Let's talk about more about the YouTube thing that you've been YouTube thing. Let's talk more about your YouTube that you've been doing and you've been working on at the moment. So your motif is, it's me, your best friend. What made you?
Hi, it's me, it's your best friend. Hello, it's me, it's your best friend.
What made you come up with that motif or ideology of your channel? Like, what made you get inspired to make one in the first place?
Can I be honest? Like, I think I used to use it for my blog. What I did for my blog is I used a different language every time for my greeting. I tried to learn a lot of different languages greeting, and then let's change that. And so it's me, it's your best friend. CanYouSayG, and you're reading CanYouSay blog where we learn how to be a better card fighter. So I just kind of copy pasted that. And the reason I got like, hello, it's me, it's your best friend. It's if Carbot animations for StarCraft 2. They have like an animation, and whenever he comes on himself and he's like making a joke or trying to talk about his channel and all that, he's like, yeah, hello, it's me, it's your best friend. And I thought that's really cute, and I really liked it, and I was like, really, it's fun. So I decided to go with it.
Okay.
So I stole it and copied it. And it's fun.
And how has that experience been for you so far, making content? What has been the creative process been like for you so far?
For creative process, as you know, I'm very, very engaged in Vanguard. I make a lot of content from before.
Yes.
So actually, I found making videos easier than it is to write a blog and kind of write out your whole article.
Okay.
Because for blog, you have to, because English is my third language. So it's a bit more difficult for me to kind of create like proper sounding sentences, proper structured paragraphs, and to be able to like position it well, make it look nice. It's a lot harder for me, I find, to do that. with an article. So I end up having to put a lot more time into the article, think about what I want to write, how I want to write it. But for videos, you can just go for a lot more simpler language, and because you have a lot more visual aid, so it's easier for you to pass along your message of what you want to do with a visual aid than it is to just write about it, and for people to be actively engaging and trying to learn what you're trying to teach them versus you just teaching them and them learning whatever they want from your channel.
Okay.
So I find it's actually easier to make videos, and I've been making videos every day because I have just that much motivation for Vanguard.
The love, the inspiration. All right, we got Typo King in here, who's also grateful to the help that you did with the Mastering the Majesty. He's also
that's one of my favorite videos till this day. I still really really enjoyed making it. Quite frankly, I planned out doing like a really in-depth video about it, and going into it before I actually filmed it that day, I was writing out the whole script, and I was like, you know what, this is going to be like a 20-minute video, like 20-minute in-depth video. Wow, people are going to love it. So I filmed the whole thing from start to finish, and I filmed it in like 4 or 5 different parts. And I put it all into the editor and realized it was a 1 hour and 25 minutes of raw footage. And then I panicked. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to put this up by today? Because my plan for that day was, I'm just going to go to sleep. I took off. I finally got an off. Back then it was like COVID, and I was in the COVID team in the hospital. So we got one off every 3 weeks. So that was my 1 day off. So I had like a post night, and then I picked up my MLB set, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to build this deck and make it a video. And then I had the 1 day off of 3 weeks, and I was like planning it out how I'm going to spend it. And I woke up 7 a.m., started filming all the way until 1 p.m. of all my footage. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to edit this in time? I need to put this out in 5 hours.
Jesus Christ. So that's all with that hectic nonsense that's going on. Then how do you make time? Because currently you're also working as well, or no?
Yes, I am working.
Okay.
And I work full time as a medical doctor.
That's cool.
I also work part time I give tutorials part time for medical students as well in the hospital. So I don't need to go home. I don't need to travel for that.
That's good. That's good. Because then, of course, since you have your residency, you're fine. You're good to go. All right. Huh.
Not really. Not really. No. Yeah, actually, it's a bit more of a slog. I still have like 7, 8, 9 years until I get my specialty. I don't know how.
Oh, you
of course, being stupid doesn't help me.
Trust me, we're all stupid. Reading is hard for all of us. You're not the only one in that way. Reading is hard for everybody.
But it's fun. But until and then you had the COVID thing happen, and then everyone was like pulled off of their work, and then they were like, "Oh, you have to go fight COVID now," and we're like, "Oh shit."
How has that been?
Actually, it was a good experience.
But how has that been like for you right now, currently, with getting everything situated? How has life been for you right now with this all going on?
With COVID, actually, the hospital what happened was I was moved hospital to join the COVID team of a different hospital. And then right as I joined it, like 1 week later, the whole COVID thing exploded exponentially. So it was back in February. So it's like February, March, April. So February, March, April, June, July. So I was in COVID team for 5 months. Usually they situate doctors like 3 months and nurses like 2 months or 3 months. But after that, we kind of rotated out. And the situation in Malaysia, which I am working in at the moment, improved greatly in May, and then June, and then July, which is why our hospital's COVID team stood down, and then they shrunk the COVID team. So we were allowed to go back to regular work. And then it was a lot more hectic and a lot less nice and had less free food. But COVID team was not that bad. It was a good experience. But I know some of the other hospitals, now that COVID is getting a bit worse, have gotten a bit more hectic in their work. Because it wasn't like the primary centers we were treating. I was a secondary center.
Okay, fair. And it's just been a bit stressful for you, but you're currently just more or less trying the best, and it's nice to see that all of y'all still fighting as much as possible as well. And thanks a lot, by the way. Thanks. I mean, I'm not living there. Yeah. I'm not living there, of course, but I mean, still, thank you guys for your hard work.
The Ministry of Hobbies, which is a card shop, has done much more for us as frontliners, and the Ministry of Health has decided to get off their ass and do. And by a lot, we mean like gave me a trial back.
Oh, but talking about card shops and stuff in your local area, what's the local scene looking like for Vanguard? What's it like there? I mean, of course, pandemic doesn't help at all, but I mean, what was it like before that?
So I've been to a lot of places and lived in a lot of places that I called my locals over the years. I've only moved to Malaysia in 2017, towards the end of 2017 for work. The scene in Malaysia used to be a lot more active. Nowadays, it's like our average locals before the pandemic was like 16 to 32 people. So there's like anywhere from 5 to 6 shops. Yeah, it was good. A lot of players. You have a good mix of players. Currently, because of the restrictions, you're having a lot of shops that are running anywhere from 8 to 12 to 16 players at maximum on pre-registration only.
Wow, it's crazy. Okay, all right. And what's the playing environment like? What's the local feel like? What's it for you?
It depends on which locals you go to, really.
Really?
It's hard to tell, like because some places are more competitive than others. Some places have a lot more people with harder core decks and a lot more experienced players. And some places have players who have been playing the game for like 8-9 years, who've gotten multiple national tops. So sometimes you join your locals and it's 16 players, but there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times people have been to Worlds, and about 20 times people have won nationals in those 16 players.
Jesus, that's basically like a
sometimes
event.
people are like more chill. Some places are more chill. Sometimes you can play whatever you want, and it's kind of it's a good environment to enjoy whatever you want because the prizes are there, like a few packs, but other than that, there's not much. But luckily, we do also have like VGCSs, which you have big prizes, like, so it's pretty good.
Awesome. So I'm not gonna keep your time too long. I mean, of course not. So we're gonna leave it up to the chat and see whether or not they have a couple questions for you, and then we can end it off. So, all right, guys, if you guys got any questions for G, right now you can go ahead and do some, and then we can round off this interview. So hopefully you had a little fun with this interview today. I know I did. Interviewing somebody who is accustomed of doing interviews himself has always been. It's always kind of nice. Just get their own takes on it.
I usually do text interviews. I find it's better to publish, but my video editing is not very good, which is why I didn't do video or voice kind of interviews before.
Fonz asks, "Are we your best friend?"
Yep, we're totally your best friend. It's me as your best friend. It's right here. It's me as your best friend.
Yeah, quick Q&A. Yes, quick Q&A. A couple of questions, and then so somebody was asking, what do you think of Vanguard Zero?
When I play Vanguard Zero, I actually don't play mobile games, so I just don't play.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
I don't actually play that many video games. I don't play that many mobile games, so I just don't play.
Okay, all right. So physical TCG is where it's at. But then, have you tried out remote fighting yet, or no?
Yes, I actually do play remote fight quite a lot, actually. I don't actually play on my own name. I do play on a Smurf account, so a lot of people don't know they're fighting me. And then they talk shit and be like, oh, you're such a bad player, blah, blah, blah. And then, you can just laugh a lot inside. It's pretty fun. You're like, oh, man, you're so suck. You would never play the Nationals. And I'm just playing like a fun deck or trying to test out some random other stuff. And you're like, yeah, well, I mean, you can say all you want, but like I've got much more national tops than you do. Zero man.
Jesus Christ. I mean, you can still revel in that a little bit. All right. Somebody else was asking, what software do you use to edit your videos?
Oh, I use HitFilm Express because it is beginner friendly and easy to use.
Nice. What's your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh deck?
What's my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh deck? Junk and Debris. If you're old enough to remember that, then you should know who I am.
Junk and Debris. Okay.
It is a very, very old deck. I think more than 10 plus years at this time. It wasn't even good at that time.
So don't they recognize hands? I don't think they recognize hands. Would they? I guess if he's wearing his ring finger on, I guess, but I don't think they recognize that. unless they're
People don't recognize Hans ever.
no.
Hans is a great co-host. Don't you talk bad about him.
All right. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, they're asking if you still own it. Do you still own any Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
Do I still own any Yu-Gi-Oh cards? I actually don't. I have a deck
Mm-hmm.
in Japan. I used to play it like sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
like when I go back. But most of the time, I just go back and play Vanguard now.
Mm-hmm.
Or I play Cypher. I used to play Cypher a bit in Japan. So when I go back on holiday, or when I go back, like I left a lot of my decks there. So I have a few random like casual decks for other games, which is like I've one or two Magic decks in Japan. I have my Yu-Gi-Oh deck, which is old and outdated and not that great. Very casual. I have a Waycross deck that's very casual. I still have my Duel Masters deck that's very casual. I have my Cypher deck that's very casual. I have a lot of TCGs back home.
All right. So we're gonna
Right now in Malaysia, I have MTG, I have Vanguard, and I have Body Fight, which is somewhere.
I mean, you probably won't need it anytime soon anyway, so you're good. Sorry.
Yeah, rip, man. Body Fight was fun, but like it also was bad. The gameplay was actually good.
Alright.
Like so I was very surprised at how good Buddy Fight's card design and ideas for Buddy Fight were implemented, and their gameplay actually was very good. But the card level balancing had issues, very bad issues,
It seems like
and marketing. Also, marketing had a very bad issue.
it might be a reoccurring thing from a certain company. I have no idea what that could be. Huh? That's weird. Weird, huh? Um, let's see. We go take like maybe 2 more questions and then we'll be done for the day. Least favorite clan? What's that? What's your least favorite clan?
What's my least favorite clan?
Yes.
It's very difficult. That one I need to think about.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably like Nubatama, Murakumo, because I don't really play those. But I have Murakumo, so I guess Nubatama. I think it's a very bad concept. You just are too defensive without any defensive options. Narukami is fine. Tachikaze. I guess Tachikaze is jumping through too much hoops. Least favorite clan, Bermuda. I don't really like. I actually don't like the Bermuda Triangle aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
I used to like the bouncing and calling playstyle for Bermuda, so I used to really like the playstyle and respect it. But then now it's like a different playstyle, so I don't like it as much. The aesthetic I didn't really like. What else do I not like? Aqua Force is fine. Grand Blue I actually kind of like. Great Nature, I guess. No, Great Nature is like okay. A lot of decks are like just like okay for me, not positive or negative, because I know like different people enjoy different things, and like if I close myself off from that, I'm closing my own options off, which is why I don't really like to outright dislike clans too much.
Okay, fair enough. And I think the last one, which is also a pretty good question. Thank you, Jack, by the way. What do you think of the current climate of the TCG?
The current climate of the TCG. Having actually played it, I think it's enjoyable. I actually think it's fun. If you're playing it for the sake of playing it, then yeah, it's fun.
Nice. Okay, good. Well, thank you so much for staying with us today. We're going to be doing a quick send-off, so if you want to do any last plugs or anything like that, you'll get the chance to. But I'll be saying, be awesome, stay awesome, guys. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all for tuning in, stopping on by. Don't forget to comment your favorite clan and your favorite card in the comment section below, and you'll have a chance to win a card from one of your favorite content creators. So I'm JJ. With...
Oh wow. Hello, it's me. It's CanYouSayG. It's me. It's your best friend. For the content, I guess, for the giveaway, I'm going to be giving in a Japanese version of the KOK Alfred SVR. You see here. I also have the winner version of the Blaster Exceed from Blaster Blade Exceed from GP Akiba, which I will also be trying to give in. I'm trying to send it in. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, because there's only 16 of those in the world.
So you guys better frame that when you get it. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you all for stopping by. Stay safe out there.